Good morning, dear students. As you know, actually, we have been continuously talking about British drama and other things, actually. So, we have talked so far uh, about the important British dramatists and etc. And in the same way, now we would like to discuss the final and the block number uh, fourth that has got actually, you see, some of the important dramatists like James Osborne and etc. So, John James Osborne, who was born on 12th December 1929 and died on 24th December 1994, was an English playwright, screenwriter, actor, and critic of the establishment. So, he was a very famous person of English literature who was also famous for playwriting and screenwriting. He was an actor also and a critic. The success of his 1956 play, Look Back in Anger, transformed English theatre. So his actually play, Look Back in Anger, that is also prescribed in our syllabus, was a great success as a matter of fact. In a productive life of more than 40 years, Osborne explored many themes and genres, writing for stage, film, and TV. His personal life was extravagant, and you see, he was a different kind of person. He lived a kind of extravagant life. He was notorious for the ornate balance of his language, not only on behalf of the political causes he supported, but also against his own family, including his wives and children. So he was actually notorious. He was, you see, famous, but in other way for his ornate balance of language. So, as a matter of fact, Osborne actually was a very famous name. Particularly, he is known for his play Look Back in Anger. As we were talking, Osborne was one of the first writers to address Britain's purpose in the post-imperial age. So he was one of those writers who discussed and wrote about the imperial age. He was the first to question the point of the monarchy on a prominent public stage. During his peak, between 1956 and 1966, he helped make contempt an acceptable and now even clutched on stage emotion, argued for the cleansing wisdom of bad behavior and bad taste, and combined unsparing truthfulness and devastating wit. So, as a matter of fact, my dear friends, as we were talking, actually, he was very famous for, you see, writing, first of all, for the, you see, post-imperial age. He was one of those writers who wrote in the post-imperial age. And he was first to question the point of the monarchy on a prominent public stage. During his peak time, between 1956 and 1966, he helped make contempt an acceptable and now even clutched on stage emotion, argued for the cleansing wisdom of bad behavior and bad taste, and combined unsparing truthfulness and devastating wit. So, putting together all the things, actually, he was an important figure. He was an important figure. So, as we were talking in the introduction, you see, Osborne is very famously known for Look Back in Anger. And this was the drama, this was the play for which he was very much famous. Look Back in Anger is a play by John Osborne. It concerns a love triangle involving an intelligent and educated but disaffected young man of working class origin, Jimmy Porter, and his upper middle class impassive wife, Alison. So, as a matter of fact, this is a story of Jimmy Porter and Alison Porter and her haughty best friend, Elena Charles. So, actually, this is a kind of love triangle. This is a love triangle between these three people, those who are the working class people, actually, Jimmy Porter, and one actually, his wife, rather impassive wife, Jimmy Porter, and her haughty best friend, Helena Charles. Cliff, an amiable Bells lawyer, attempts to keep the peace. The play was a success on the London stage and spawned the term angry young man to describe Osborne and those of his generation who employed the hardness of realism in the theater in contrast to the more escapist theater that characterized the previous generation. So, as we were talking, my dear friends, actually, you see, this play was a success. It was a very successful play on the London stage, and it actually tried to coin the term angry young man. This term actually that is very famous in literature as well as in the field of theater. So this play actually tried to coin this term that is known as angry young man, and this described Osborne and you see the kind of realism that was prevailing in the generation of Osborne. So this is actually the story of Look Back in Anger is a kind of love triangle. Look Back in Anger, as we were talking actually, was a strongly autobiographical piece based on Osborne's unhappy marriage to actress Pamela Lane and their life in cramped accommodation in Derby. So each writer actually, each playwright has got some kind of influence or the other, and he or she, whoever is the writer, takes some kind of inspiration from somewhere actually. So the story, as we were talking, my dear friends, in the earlier slide also, that you see the story of Look Back in Anger has been, you see, a love triangle. It is a love triangle. So as a matter of fact, critics believe that this is a kind of an autobiographical piece that is particularly based on Osborne's unhappy marriage with an actress, Pamela Lane. So while Osborne aspired towards a career in theater, Lane was of a more practical and materialistic persuasion, not taking Osborne's ambitions seriously while cuckolding him with a local dentist. It also contains much of Osborne's earlier life. So actually, you see, as we were talking, this Osborne was of a different nature actually, whereas Lane was of more practical and materialistic nature. So there were rifts between both of them, and they did not try to understand each other. And you see, this play has got some kind of Osborne's earlier life's contents also. The wrenching speech of seeing a loved one die being, for example, a replay of the death of Thomas, Osborne's father. What it is best remembered for, though, are Jimmy's tirades. So, some of these are directed against generalized British middle class smugness in the post-atomic world. So, some of the scenes and some of the above said events actually that have been directed, they are against generalized British middle class smugness in the post-atomic world. Many are directed against the female characters, and this is a very distinct echo of the playwright's profoundly uneasy relations with women, starting with his mother, Nellie Beatrice, described by Osborne in his autobiography, a better class of person, as hypocritical, self-absorbed, calculating, and indifferent. Madeline, the lost love Jimmy pines for, is based on Stella Linden, an older rap company actress who first encouraged Osborne to write. So you see, Madeline, the lost love Jimmy pines for, is based on Stella Linden, an older rap company actress who first encouraged Osborne to write. After the first production in London, Osborne began a relationship with Mary Urey, who played Ellison, and divorced his wife to Mary Urey in 1957. So, as a matter of fact, my dear friends, we were talking about, you see, John Osborne and Look Back in Anger. So, actually, Osborne was a very important figure, as we have talked about, and he was particularly known for, you see, his writings and writings for theater and playwriting, etc. As far as the drama, the play, Look Back in Anger is concerned, it is a story of love triangle actually. Critics believe, you see, this has got the autobiographical impact of the life of, you see, John Osborne, because you see actually the life of Osborne has also been in some way or the other has been depicted in the play. So this was all about John Osborne and his play. Now we would like to discuss about the second component of the block, and that is Samuel Beckett. Once again, Samuel Beckett was also a very famous name actually, and you see he was a kind of a very important figure in English literature, who was born on 30th April 1906 and died on 22nd of December 1989. He was an Irish avant-garde novelist. You see, he was a trend setter. He set the trend, and he was a playwright, and then he was a theater director and poet who lived in Paris for most of his adult life and wrote in both English and French. His work offers a bleak, tragicomic outlook on human nature, often coupled with black comedy and gallows humor. So, my dear friends, as we were talking to you, you see actually Samuel Beckett, particularly Samuel Barclay Beckett. He was an avant-garde Irish novelist. You see this, he was a trend setter, particularly for the absurdist drama and all, and you see Waiting for Godot, that is prescribed in our syllabus, that we would like to discuss later on in the coming slides. So, as a matter of fact, you see that was a premier work of English literature, a different kind of work of English literature. So, he was there actually in Paris for his adult life, and he wrote in both languages, English as well as French actually. So, as far as the writing, the bent of mind of Beckett is concerned, actually, he has got a kind of tragic sense of mind, and he uses that particular tragicomic elements of human nature in his, you see, writings. So that is clearly seen in his works. Beckett is widely regarded as among the most influential writers of the 20th century. This is what we were talking, my dear friends, you see. So he is actually respected and regarded as a very important and influential writer of, you see, of this 20th century. He is considered one of the last modernists. He is considered one of the last modernists. As an inspiration to many later writers, he is also sometimes considered one of the first postmodernists. So he was the last of the, he is considered as last of the modernists and first of the postmodernists, my dear friends. He is one of the key writers in what Martin Esslin called the theater of the absurd. So this is what I was talking to you in the earlier slide, that he was an avant-garde writer. So he was one of those actually who established the new form of writing that is known as theater of the absurd. His work became increasingly minimalist in his later career. So he actually tried to trend the new set. Beckett was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1969 for his writing, which in new forms for the novel and in drama, in the destitution of modern man, acquires its elevation. So, my dear friends, actually, as we were talking about the various features of the personality of Samuel Beckett, he is widely recognized and appreciated everywhere, and he is considered the first modernist and the last. You see, he is considered as the last modernist and the first postmodernist. And the most important thing that is related with his name is that he was one of the trendsetters of the theater of the absurd, and he tried to establish that kind of, you see, trend in English literature. Of all the English language modernists, Beckett's work represents the most sustained attack on the realist tradition. He opened up the possibility of theater and fiction that dispense with conventional plot and the unities of time and place in order to focus on essential components of the human condition. So actually, you see, he tried to attack on the different kind of orthodoxical traditions, and then actually he tried to explore the new possibilities of theater and fiction. Vaclav Havel, John Banbele Higgins, Thomas Stoppard, and Harold Pinter have publicly stated their indebtedness to Beckett's example. So all these names that are mentioned here, my dear friends, they have expressed their gratefulness to Beckett's examples. Actually, they have very clearly accepted the fact that they were indebted to Beckett for his examples, for his writings, for his creativity, and etc. He has had a wide influence on experimental writing since the 1950s, from the Beat generation to the happenings of the 1960s and after. In an Irish context, he has exerted great influence on poets such as Derek Mahon, Thomas Kinsella, as well as writers like Trevor Joyce, Catherine Wells, who proclaim their adherence to the modernist tradition as an alternative to the dominant realistic mainstream. So, my dear friends, as we were talking, actually he had a great and wider influence on the different poets and the different sections of society, and they publicly, including Harold Pinter, such a great man, you see, accepted his influence over them. Many major 20th century composers, including Luciano Berio, Courtaugue, Morton Feldman, Pascal, Scott Fields, Philip Glass, and Heinz Hollinger, have created musical works based on Beckett's texts. So many other people, actually, composers, they have created musical works on Beckett's text. He was such a popular man. He was such a famous personality. And my dear friends, this we need to remember. This happened because of theater of the absurd, actually. Because that was a new form, and that, you see, this was a momentum-like event for, you see, Samuel Beckett also. And he took immediately, you see, tried to take the popularity that, you see, came for him because of the Waiting for Godot. His work has also influenced numerous international writers, artists, and filmmakers, including Edward Albee, Avigdor, Erica Paul, Oster, J.M. Coetzee, Douglas Gordon, Bruce Newman, Anthony Minghella, and Damien Pettigrew. So, you see, he has influenced the writers everywhere, you see, because of his works and writings. Beckett is one of the most widely discussed and highly prized of 20th century authors, inspiring critical interest to rival that which had sprung up around James Joyce. So, as we were talking, my dear friends, he has inspired the writers throughout the world, and he has divided critical opinion. Some early philosophical critics such as Sartre and Theodore Adorno praised him, one of his revelation of absurdity. The other for his works, critical refusal of simplicities. Others such as George Lucas condemned for decadent lack of realism. Since Beckett's death, all rights for performance of his plays are handled by the Beckett estate, currently managed by Edward Beckett, the author's nephew. The estate has a controversial reputation for maintaining firm control over how Beckett's plays are performed, and does not grant licenses to productions that do not adhere to the writer's stage directions. Historians interested in tracing Beckett's bloodline were, in 2004, granted access to confirmed trace samples of his DNA to conduct molecular genealogical studies to facilitate precise lineage determination. So, actually, all the things and the particular legal rights of the performances of the plays of Beckett estate are now governed and managed by Edward Beckett, who was the nephew of author. So, but you see, historians and critics have got their own arguments in order to find the precise lineage, and you see the rightful heir of the Beckett family, etc. But this is how it has been and it is being managed. Some of the best known pictures of Beckett were taken by photographer John Minihan, who photographed him between 1980 and 1985 and developed such a good relationship with the writer that he became, in effect, his official photographer. Some consider one of these to be among the top 3 photographers of the 20th century. So you see, John Minihan was the one who was taking officially the photographs of the great poet and the great writer of 20th century, Samuel Beckett. And you see, the relationship was very strong, and because of that relationship, he became the official photographer for Beckett. It was the theater photographer, John Hames, however, who took possibly the most widely reproduced image of Beckett. It is used on the cover of the Knowlson biography, for instance. This portrait was taken during rehearsals of the St. Quentin drama workshop at the Royal Court Theatre in London, where Hames photographed many productions of Beckett's works. Now we would like to discuss about Waiting for Godot. As we were talking, my dear friends, you see, it has got a different kind of structure and different kind of story and different kind of opportunities and possibilities and everything. So this is why particularly this from Waiting for Godot and this theater of Abjad became very famous. And particularly Samuel Beckett, you see, we were talking regularly about Samuel Beckett and his place in English literature and what he did for English literature. We came to know that what he did was because of Waiting for Godot. So Waiting for Godot is an Abadist play by Samuel Beckett in which 2 characters, Vladimir and Estragon, wait endlessly and in vain for the arrival of someone named Godot. These 2 characters, Vladimir and Estragon, they are waiting for someone whose name is Godot. Godot's absence, as well as numerous other aspects of the play, have led to many different interpretations since the play's 1953 premiere. It was voted the most significant English language play of the 20th century, my dear friends. So it was voted the most significant English language play of the 20th century. Waiting for Godot is Beckett's translation of his own original French version, An Attendant Godot, and is subtitled in English only, A Tragicomedy in 2 Acts. A Tragicomedy in 2 Acts. The original French text was composed between 9 October 1948 and 29th January 1949. The premiere was on 5th January 1953 in the Theatre de Babylone, Paris. The production was directed by Roger Bellin, who also played the role of Pojo. Main characters. The main characters of the play are Vladimir, one of the 2 main characters of the play. Estragon calls him Didi, and the boy addresses him as Mr. Albert. He seems to be the more responsible and mature of the 2 main characters. So he is a main character. Estragon, the second of the 2 main characters. Vladimir calls him Gogo. He seems weak and helpless, always looking for Vladimir's protection. He also has a poor memory, as Vladimir has to remind him in the second act of the events that happened the previous night. Pojo. He passes by the spot where Vladimir and Estragon are waiting and provides a diversion. In the second act, he is blind and does not remember meeting Vladimir and Estragon the night before. Lucky, Pojo's slave, who carries Pojo's bags and stool. In Act 1st, he entertains by dancing and thinking. However, in Act 2nd, he is dumb. Boy, he appears at the end of each act to inform Vladimir that Godot will not be coming that night. Boy, he appears at the end of each act to inform Vladimir that Godot will not be coming that night. In the second act, he insists that he was not there the previous night. Godot, the man for whom Vladimir and Estragon wait unendingly. So this is why the name of the play is Waiting for Godot, actually. So they have been, both of the main characters, Vladimir and Estragon, have been waiting for Godot. Godot never appears in the play. His name and character are often thought to refer to God. Two men, here we go for summary. Two men, Vladimir and Estragon, meet near a tree. They converse on various topics and reveal that they are waiting there for a man named Godot. While they wait, two other men enter. They are waiting, and in the meantime, two other men enter. Pozo is on his way to the market to sell his slave, Lucky. He pauses for a while to converse with Vladimir and Estragon. Lucky entertains them by dancing and thinking, and Pozo and Lucky leave. After Pozo and Lucky leave, a boy enters and tells Vladimir that he is a messenger from Godot. He tells Vladimir that Godot will not be coming tonight. So you see, in the meantime, after Pozo and Lucky, when they leave, this boy enters and he informs Vladimir that Godot is not going to come tonight, but that he will surely come tomorrow. But he also says that the Godot will come tomorrow. Vladimir asks him some questions about Godot, and the boy departs. After his departure, Vladimir and Estragon decide to leave, but they do not move as the curtain falls. Because they do not move. In the meantime, you see, in the meantime, curtain falls. The next night, Vladimir and Estragon again meet near the tree to wait for Godot. Lucky and Pozo enter again. So in the next night, once again, they have been, you see, waiting for Godot, and Lucky and Pozo also once again come. But this time, Pozo is blind and Lucky is dumb. But this time, you see, earlier this was not the case with Pozo and Lucky, but this time Pozo is blind and Lucky is dumb. Pozo does not remember meeting the two men the night before. They leave, and Vladimir and Estragon continue to wait. These two people, Lucky and Pozo, once again leave, and as usual, Vladimir and Estragon continue to wait. Shortly after, the boy enters and once again tells Vladimir that Godot will not be coming tonight. Once again, the same boy comes and informs Vladimir. He insists that he did not speak to Vladimir yesterday. After he leaves, Estragon and Vladimir decide to leave, but again they do not move as the curtain falls, ending the play. So the play ends actually without any significance or whatsoever, and you see, Godot, we do not know who he or she is, but Godot does not come. There is only one scene throughout both acts. Two men are waiting on a country road by a tree. The men are unspecified origin, though it is clear that they are not English by nationality, and in English language productions are traditionally played with Irish accents. The script calls for Estragon to sit on a low mound, but in practice, as in Beckett's own 1975 German productions, this is usually a stone. In the first act, the tree is bare. In the second, a few leaves have appeared despite the script specifying that it is the next day. The minimal description calls to mind the idea of the Liebig, a location which should not be particularized. Allen once suggested putting the play on in a round. Pozo has often been commented on as a ringmaster, but Beckett dissuaded him. I don't, in my ignorance, agree with the round and feel Godot needs a very closed box. He even contemplated at one point having a faint shadow of bars on a stage floor, but in the end decided against this level of what he called explicitation. In his 1975 Schiller Theatre production, there are times when Didi and Gogo appear to bounce off something like what's trapped in the strands of an invisible net. In James Knowleson's description, Didi and Gogo are only trapped because they still cling to the concept that freedom is possible. Freedom is a state of mind, so is imprisonment. So, as you know, my dear friends, actually, Waiting for Godot is a very fine piece by Samuel Beckett, and it talks about, you see, the regular optimism of Vladimir and his fellow friend, and they have been continuously waiting for Godot, but he never appears to come. So I hope you must have got the point. Thank you.